To welcome our second speaker, Shri Anirudh Chauji sir, a truly remarkable individual. Shri Chauji sir is a seasoned ecologist and a leading expert in ecotourism, celebrated for his unwavering dedication to conservation. I would like to request the technical team to please relay the video displaying the life and work of the Honorable Mr. Shri Anirudh Chauji.
Shri Anirudh Chauji is a seasoned ecologist and a leading expert in ecotourism, renowned for his deep commitment to conservation. After a successful tenure running Pugmarks, a well-known wildlife and adventure camping organization, he chose early retirement to fully dedicate himself to conservation efforts. Shri Chauji has worked closely with the Forest Department at Melghat and Tadoba Andhari Tiger Reserve with a strong focus on involving local communities in conservation initiatives. Recognized in Condé Nast Traveler's 50 Amazing Ambassadors of Sustainable Travel in 2019, he is a staunch advocate for tourism as a means to combat antisocial activities. A lifelong adventurer and learner, Shri Anirudh Chauji draws inspiration from local people, customs, and nature, making him a pioneering leader in sustainable development. We warmly welcome Shri Anirudh Chauji.
Ladies and gentlemen, with a huge round of applause, please help me in welcoming the Honorable Mr. Shri Anirudh Chauji.
Hope I am able to wake up a few souls which are resting out there. This is a little namaste from Tadoba Andhari Tiger Reserve. Some of you probably heard of Tadoba, and has anyone been to Tadoba? Anyone who knows where Tadoba is? Yes, I can see 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, Tadoba is near Nagpur, in the center of India. People know Tadoba only as a tiger reserve, but there is a lot more. We have beautiful forest, wonderful flora and fauna. So this is an invitation for all those who have not been to Tadoba yet, and don't come only to see our tigers. There's a lot more to see in Tadoba. However, the talk that I'm presenting right now is a little story of how Tadoba transformed its protection. So the year was about 2012, and that is when Tadoba experienced poaching. 2 tigers were killed in Madnapur area of Tadoba. That's the time a lot of people started talking, guards ko AK-47 banduk deni chahiye. Guards ko arm karna chahiye. Fortunately, that did not happen, and there was something else that happened. And in the meantime, this was also the time when, this is a bird called the Great Indian Bustard near Sholapur and near Pune. There is this place called Nanaj, and I was observing this bird through the binocular, and there is this person, the local person passing by. He stopped over, looked at me watching the bird, and then says, "Ye bird na mar jana chahiye. This bird should be dead." I said, "Great Indian Bustard? Yaar, ye kyun marna chahiye?" He said, "Nahi, jab ye marega, tab hamare yahan development aayega." So it was very interesting what he mentioned. So going back to the history, for thousands of years in India, people have lived with their forests. But then 1878, the Britishers came in and formulated something called as the reserve forest, which basically meant a forest reserved for the Queen of England. So all the wood, all the resources from the forest. Yeah, it was not working earlier.
It's working now.
Okay. So what happened was, if an Indian entered the forest, he would be imprisoned, he would be jailed, or he would have had to pay a penalty. The unfortunate part of this reserve forest concept was 1947, when India became independent, we should have gotten away with it. But that did not happen, and we continued with our reserve forest business. So look at someone who is staying next to the forest, in a forest village. So in such a person, what does that person require? Needs safe drinking water, fuel, schools, medical facilities, mobile network, protection for crops, safety, and the most important is jobs, livelihoods. But the unfortunate part is, because of something called as a forest, a national park, a tiger reserve, sanctuary, all these are missing. And then who prevents it? It's conservation. So now imagine you're staying and without all these facilities, and somebody comes and says, boss, you need to protect the tiger. You need to protect the forest. So it's as difficult as that. And remember, we come with a beautiful history where Mrs. Gandhi in 72 had mentioned that you better look after the interests of the local communities. Otherwise, the communities know very well how to get whatever they require. So this is a story of Tadoba, where we started working with the people whom we believed were poachers, shikaris, small-time hunters. So typically we were told they are all culprits, and we started working with them. Eco-development committees were formed in our village, and these eco-development committees constituted of people from the village itself. They were not outsiders. And we said, together let's make a difference. So the first area where we said we could make a difference was ecotourism. And in ecotourism, what happens is, till now, a lot of people claim that they are doing ecotourism. They are doing tourism, they are doing wildlife tourism. Because the local communities, local people are only cheap labor. They do not own tourism. And that was the difference that Tadoba started bringing up in amongst the communities. This was around 2013-14 when we started training the local communities for tourism. Earlier, we started first with classroom sessions, then went out in the outdoors, trained them in the outdoors. What did we do with them? So, while training them in the outdoors, every time you will not see the tiger. Sometimes you will never see the tiger during the entire safari. So, typically when people go through such a safari, they say, "Kuch nahi dekha." I said, "Sir, 4 ghante aap jungle mein the, kuch nahi dekha?" How could that be possible? So, making every aspect of the jungle a little more interesting. It could be a tree like Gubi sir's Arjuna tree, and how Arjuna tree is useful for the heart, medication, or it could be a bird, or it could be a butterfly. Everything needs to be, made interesting. Otherwise, everyone who keeps chasing the tiger might just come and say, as I said, "Kuch nahi dekha." So this is how the trainings went on. And then we wanted to make them storytellers. We didn't want, somebody who would just come and say, "This is tiger, this is tree." That's not how you make people fall in love with wilderness. We said, like these seeds, I don't know if you've seen these seeds, these are the seeds of a plant called gunza. Now, it's one of the worst known poisons. If you ingest it, you can go up. Simple as that. But for very long, I don't know if you know this, gold used to be measured by gunza. So each gunza is a ratti. 8 rattis make a masa. 12 masas make a tola. So 96 of these small seeds would make 1 tola of gold. Of course, now the measures have changed. You would see a peacock. Generally, somebody would say, there's a peacock, very beautiful bird, national bird. But there's something more beyond it. So we all know of Krishna having a peacock feather in his crown. Does anyone by chance know what does the peacock feather signify? Why a peacock feather? During Krishna's time, the peacock was not a national bird. So why did Krishna have a peacock feather? So when we hear of the name of Krishna, we think 16,000 बीवियां थी इसकी, क्या लकी हो गया यार. Interestingly, these were women who were widows and had very poor standing in our society. The lady had to put on white clothes and sit in a corner. Festivals where she could not take part. It was a bad life for her. And by marrying such widows, Krishna gave them the status of Krishna's wives. But he did not have any physical desires with these women. But you couldn't go and tell in everyone's ears, Krishna ko kuch lena dena nahi hai. Not any physical desire with these women. You can't go and tell everyone. If you go into the villages of India even today, people will tell you that peacocks don't mate. The peahen drinks a teardrop from the male's eye and that's how she conceives. Well, that's not true. Basically, it is faith. It's a belief. It's a belief that peacock males are pure. And that is the significance of the peacock feather in Krishna's crown. You could have a small flower called glory lily, gloriosa superba as it's called. The onion down below, you prick a pin into it. So imagine by pricking a pin into that onion down below, how much chemical can it collect? Very little. If your cow or buffalo is unable to deliver, if the calf is not coming out, just touch that pin on that cow's tongue and immediately the movements begin and the calf is delivered. So locally it is called Kar Lavi, the movement beginner. So these are kind of stories. So instead of just pointing out names of birds, trees and butterflies, if you can tell a beautiful story related to it, that is what we said we need to do. Then, of course, my personal favorite is birds. So, birds have color, song, movement. It's an inspiration. For anyone to get to fall in love with wildlife, I believe that we can start with birds. And as a part of the training of these guides and the locals, what we have been doing is, I said, can you identify the bird by its call? Or can you imitate the bird's call? He said, Yani kya karna hai? I said, simple. There is a bird called Ayora. It's a beautiful golden yellow and black bird. In the cities, in the jungles, you can hear this call. Beautiful call. So, what you do, the call is somewhere far away. From under this tree, you start imitating the bird. The bird, you know what happens? It's only the male bird which calls out. So this male bird says, मेरी पोटियों को पटाने के लिए कोई और मेल मेरे एरिया में आ गया. अब कौन है वो? And finally, if you again imitate that call, he calls out like this. Hey, kaire! Hey, kaire! So what I've told these guides, put the bird calls into words and you'll never forget that call. In the Western Ghats, there is a small bird, the spotted babbler, calls out like this. If I put it in words, it is pretty sweetie. It is pretty sweetie, I'll beat you. Pretty sweetie, I'll beat you. Beat you. Or you have these amazing cuckoos which come to our area during the monsoon. And this bird obviously, and I think all of you must have heard, The Angrez called it brain fever. Brain fever. But if you ask a farmer, he tells you, याला आम्ही पावशा म्हणतो. It's called pausha. It tells the farmer, paus, ala, per, deva. Tells the farmer, get ready, it's sowing time now. There is another one which says, kakakaku, kakakaku, kakakaku. All those friends who are from Uttarakhand and up north, there is a fruit called the kafal. So kafal pako, main nahi chakho, kafal pako, main nahi chakho. How does this cuckoo name come? It comes from the European or the Eurasian cuckoo. Cuckoo, cuckoo. And one last one. All of you have seen this serpent eagle, the eagle that goes high up in the air. Crested serpent eagle. It's a bird of prey. From 2,000 feet high above, it can see a small snake. It can see a lizard. And next, it pulls its wings inside, swoops down and catches that animal. So what is it? It's a predator. So once upon a time, I was sitting with little kids and I imitated this call. I said, you need to put the call into words. The call of a serpent eagle goes like this. And one little hand went up. I said, yes sir, I want to speak. I said, bolo. He said, bird of prey, predator. So this is what it said. The call is like this. Beware, here I come. Beware, here I come. So, the moment you put word calls into words, it becomes much. So, we produce these small booklets which go into the pockets. And these booklets, then, anyone can identify these birds. These are some of the simplest birds. India has over 1,200 species of birds. So if you get into this 1,200 species ka book, you'll run away, you'll leave it away. I think even, M3 paper would be easier than learning birds. This eagle, serpent eagle, I was talking about the vision of this bird. I always wished I had eyesight like a eagle, see that distant snake or small rabbit or anything else. So if I were an eagle, I would have passed all my exams with flying colors. The first question I would look at that paper there in the corner. Oh, acha, I need to write like this. I would have written wahan se. Second question I would read from there. Third, I would be able to read from there. Fourth question, I would turn my head 270 degrees like this and read from there. Unfortunately, I was not an eagle. I could not even look into the next paper and my marks were very poor. Not that I didn't study. So these were some of the people who, helped start this in the forest department. Start this movement in the forest department. And today, Tadoba is one of the best examples where the forest department and the community, they work together. If you wish to come to Tadoba and not stay in a resort, instead, what we can do is we can actually stay in top of the chowki deep inside the forest. These are the chowkis where our forest guards stay at night. My vehicle was parked next to this chowki, and like Sanjay sir mentioned the camera trap was there. Till 2 o'clock I kept awake on the terrace, on the roof of this place. 3 o'clock one of our beautiful tigresses passed that place. So there is a lovely picture of the tigress and my vehicle. If you are lucky, you might see the leopard. You might see beautiful birds. So if you wish to be a part of this, most welcome. Come down to Tadoba, join one of our naturalist training programs, and you'll love that experience. So, what have we achieved by making these people guides? What have we achieved by making them a part of our ecotourism industry? In Tadoba, see, you go to any park, Kana, Bandhavgarh, Ranthambore, any park, there are about 5 to 6 gates. In Tadoba, we have 21 gates. And we have 10 different activities, which include staying on a machan, staying on a kuti. These are included. Which means around 30 villages of Tadoba directly get employment as guides, as drivers, as tourism operators. These 30 villages support a huge number of indirect beneficiaries. I told you in the beginning, 2012 was a poaching incident in Tadoba. The last poaching that we had. We have not had a single poaching after that. We've had electrocution, poisoning deaths, but not even a single poaching. 50% of the credit the forest department can take. The other 50% of the credit goes to the local communities who are protecting their tigers, who are protecting their wildlife. We have very little bushmeat hunting in our villages, which has meant that wild boar, sambar, spotted deer numbers have increased, our grasslands have improved. Today, Tadoba is not just a Tadoba Andhari Tiger project, it is Tadoba Maternity Home. Tigers are breeding in Tadoba and going to all the neighboring forests. And that has been achieved by involving the communities. 2012, we had about 20 tigers. Today we have over 90 tigers, 250 leopards. And thanks to the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Can we please have a huge round of applause and a standing ovation? Thank you, sir, for your inspiring words, and thank you for being with us here today. I think this is truly the kind of leadership that we want to see. I believe this session, all in all, is extremely inspiring. Thank you so much to our esteemed guests for being with us here today and for telling us so much about wildlife conservation and the environment. Thank you once again for your impactful speech.
We will now be moving on to the question and answer session, where our students will be able to ask and clarify questions that may have arisen in their mind during the session. If you have a question you might like to ask, please approach one of the volunteers present at either podium on either side of the venue. You'll be allowed to ask your questions from there. And it is a humble request to kindly keep your questions short, and also a humble request to the guests to kindly keep their answers short so that we can entertain more questions. Thank you. So the first question we will be taking is from the podium on my right.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Parth Burkar. I'm currently pursuing Masters in Environmental Sciences. So my question was to Dr. Sanjay Gubi sir about the current increase in the cases of human-animal conflict, especially the leopards. So what is your take on this so as to how to reduce this or handle at the local level?
That's a very good question. Human-wildlife conflict has been there ever since humans learned to use agriculture or practiced agriculture and also started to use fire. So this cannot be brought down to zero. We have to be very clear about it. But it has to be brought down to tolerable limits. But it's got no single solution to it. There's no silver bullet solution. It has to be a combination of solution with protection of habitat, protection of their natural prey, and also involving local communities in handling conflict situation. So there's no silver bullet to this question. Like yesterday, there was a leopard on the outskirts of Pune in one of the campuses. And I think they dealt it very well by mostly educating communities about handling leopard conflict. So it's very important to understand there's no single bullet solution to this problem.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
We will now be having a question from the podium on the left.
Good afternoon, everyone. Myself Atharva from MSc Environmental Science, and my question is for Anirudh sir. Sir, due to social media, many unknown and remote places are now known to tourists. Where do you think this is going to lead us?
If I am not wrong, you said number of newer places, is it? Unknown places?
Unknown places are now known to tourists.
Yes, we need to keep certain areas completely for wildlife. There is no doubt about it. But now look at the condition of any of our tiger reserves. You have huge number of people coming to one gate because everyone today wants to see wildlife, everyone wants to see tigers. But the solution is in dispersing people. So when I mentioned 21 gates in Tadoba, we are trying to disperse people to different gates, and only 6 vehicles are allowed from these gates. And plus, not only different gates, we are also trying to disperse them to different activities and not just jungle safaris. So that is what is my take on this, that everyone today wants to see wildlife, disperse the crowd. If all of them come to Savai Madhopur town of Ranthambore and all of them make an entry only from one gate, you are going to have chaos.
Thank you very much, sir. We will now be entertaining another question from podium on the right.
Hello everyone.